That pain you feel right now, that question screaming inside, why me? That door that closed and left your heart feeling like it was all over. What if none of it was an accident? What if every tear, every trial, and every silence from God wasn't a punishment, but preparation? Stay, because what you're about to hear may be the answer you've been waiting for so long. I don't believe in coincidences, and I know that the fact that you're watching this right now isn't either. This message was seeking you out. God knew your heart needed to hear it today, because while you've been seeing chaos, confusion, or even abandonment in your life, God has been writing a story, and today He wants to show you the page you're on. In the next few minutes, you're going to understand why every piece of your life, even the ones that seem broken, fits into a perfect plan. You're not just going to hear about hope, you will feel how God's peace begins to heal those wounds you thought no one saw. This is not just another video. It's a divine appointment, and what God has for you is personal, it's urgent, and it will change everything. Many plans are born in your heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that will always prevail. This truth, anchored in Proverbs 19:21, resonates deep within our human experience. All of us, without exception, draw maps for our lives. We design futures, set goals, dream of specific destinations. Perhaps right now you have a perfectly detailed plan for your career, your family, or your finances. And that's good. It's a reflection of the longing God placed within you. But often, in our eagerness to control the helm, we forget that only God's purpose remains firm. We fall into the subtle trap of believing we are the ultimate architects of our existence. We convince ourselves that with enough effort, we can force life to follow our script. The reality, however, is that our plans are limited, our vision is short. You and I see the now, the small fragment of reality before us. But God, He sees the entire tapestry. He beholds the past, present, and future as a single work of art, a perfect interweaving that leads to a purpose we can barely glimpse. Have you ever watched a plan you considered foolproof vanish before your eyes? Perhaps it was that job opportunity that seemed yours and suddenly vanished, or that relationship you invested your whole heart into that ended unexpectedly. In those moments of breakdown, when you feel like your efforts have been in vain, it's natural to feel frustration. But I want you to ask yourself something. What if that closed door wasn't a failure, but a divine redirection? What if that unexpected detour is God guiding you toward an infinitely better path? This is where trust becomes our anchor. When your plans founder, it's easy for hope to drown with them. But listen carefully. God's purpose for you is always greater than any dream you could have conceived. Even in pain, even when chaos seems to reign, God is working for your good. Trusting in His guidance means accepting that, even if you're not walking the path you laid out, you are exactly on the road you need to travel. Letting go of control is perhaps one of the greatest acts of faith. We long for the security that comes from feeling in control. But true freedom, the peace that surpasses all understanding, is found in surrender. It's not about giving up dreaming, but about laying those dreams at God's feet and whispering, "Lord, your will, not mine, be done." This is a lesson in profound humility. Are you pursuing your ambitions or the purpose God planted within you? It's a delicate balance, but when you submit your desires to His sovereignty, you discover that His ways, though mysterious, are always perfect. God's purpose is unchanging. It is unaltered by your mistakes or circumstances. He knows your story from beginning to end, and every twist, every tear is woven with a loving purpose. So the next time your plans fall apart, take a deep breath. Don't despair. God is in control. His purpose prevails. And even if you see only ruins now, He is building something glorious. Have you ever felt paralyzed by the fog of uncertainty? That feeling in your stomach when you don't know what will happen next, how things will turn out. It's a universal experience. But I want you to engrave this in your mind. God not only knows your future, He has declared it from eternity. In Isaiah 46:10, His voice echoes through the centuries. I have declared the end from the beginning, from ancient times, what is yet to come. Stop and meditate on the magnitude of this statement. Before your story began, God already knew the ending. This changes everything, doesn't it? As you and I navigate the present, often fearful of what tomorrow will bring, God observes the entirety of your life in a single glance. For him, there are no surprises, no unforeseen events. Every event, every decision, every tear of yours is under his perfect knowledge. What seems like uncontrollable chaos to you is to him a piece that fits perfectly into his master plan. And the promise becomes even more powerful. God not only knows the future, he governs it. His sovereignty is absolute. Sometimes, when things don't go as we expected, we can fall into the lie of thinking something went wrong, that God's plan went off the rails. But that's impossible. God's purpose will be fulfilled, no matter the external circumstances or your own weaknesses. There is no force in heaven or on earth that can thwart his will. And this truth is the source of the deepest peace you'll ever experience. God's plan is not fragile. It doesn't change. It was established before the foundation of the world, and nothing can alter it. This means that no matter what storm you face today, God's purpose for your life will be fulfilled. You may not understand it now, the path may be painful, but his will is irresistible. What he has decreed will be done, and when you hold on to this rock, you find a rest the world cannot offer. I know there are times when confusion overwhelms you. You wonder if you're on the right path, if you'll ever get out of this desert. But listen, God is not confused. What for you is a maze of uncertainty, for him is a clear and perfectly laid out path. His vision is not limited by time or circumstances. And this brings us to the most beautiful assurance of all. You can fully trust that God's purpose for your life will manifest. Neither difficulties, nor obstacles, nor your own doubts can stop him. And that plan is good, even if it doesn't seem like it right now. Even if the path is full of thorns, God has a perfect purpose for you. When you anchor yourself in this truth, you can face any giant. That's why there is unshakable hope in God's plan. He already knows your future, has designed it, and has declared it. And even if you can't see how things will turn out, you can be certain that he is working. His promises will be fulfilled, no matter what you see in the present. That is the hope that keeps you standing when everything else is shaky. Have you ever wondered if your life really matters? If in the midst of difficulties and apparent chaos, there is a design, a greater purpose? There is a promise in Jeremiah 29:11 that is like a balm for the wounded soul. God himself tells you, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a future and a hope." This is not a vague wish, it is a divine declaration, a plan designed to give you a future full of hope. The first thing we must internalize is that God is in absolute control. He isn't improvising with your life. Every situation, no matter how tangled it may seem, is under his sovereign direction. There are no accidents or coincidences in your story. God knows exactly what he's doing, even when you don't understand anything. Think about the context of this verse. God was speaking to Israel in exile. They were banished, far from home, feeling like their world had fallen apart. In the midst of that profound darkness, God reminded them, "I have not forgotten you." He promised them a future, even when their present was bleak. And that same message is for you today. In your moment of greatest distress, when you feel the walls closing in around you, God still has a plan. He hasn't abandoned you. You may be wondering how this applies to your current struggle. Look around you. We all face trials that seem pointless. The loss of a loved one, an unexpected illness, a painful betrayal. But I assure you, God is at work on something bigger. The answers you long for may not be immediate, but his silence is not absence. Sometimes the greatest blessings come wrapped in the most painful packages. When the Bible speaks of well-being, it doesn't mean an easy, trouble-free life. God's well-being is much deeper. It's a purposeful life, filled with inner peace and spiritual growth. It's a fulfillment found only by aligning with his will. The trials you face aren't meaningless obstacles. They're the tools God uses to sculpt you. The difficulty that's drowning you today has a purpose. Every trial is designed to forge your character, teach you invaluable lessons, and prepare you for the blessings to come. In God's plan, nothing is wasted. Every tear you shed is watering a seed of strength within you. God sees beyond your present pain. And even if you don't understand the reason for certain trials, you can trust that they are part of a divine design. The hope God promises is not empty optimism, it is a sure reality. His faithfulness is the rock upon which you can build your life. The future he promises you does not depend on your merits, but on his unfailing grace. It is a future of peace, fulfillment, and most importantly, his constant presence. Because in the end, what truly matters is that he walks beside you. So in the midst of the fog, when you don't know what tomorrow holds, hold on to this. God is in control. Your story is not over. And the best part is that the author of your life has promised you a hopeful ending. Don't give up. Keep believing. God is still working. I want to remind you of a truth that even if you know it needs to be anchored in your heart today, God has a purpose in everything that happens to you. I know that sometimes this is incredibly difficult to believe, especially when life feels like a whirlwind of chaos and pain. But in Romans 8:28 we are given a promise that changes everything. We know that all things work together for the good of those who love God. And when he says all, he means absolutely all. It includes those dark moments you don't understand, the ones that make you cry out to heaven, "Why me?" Think about this for a moment. The difficulty you're facing, that challenge that shakes the foundation of your faith, is no accident. God leaves nothing to chance. You may not see the purpose now. Everything may seem like a mess, but behind the scenes God is weaving a work of art. There's a perfect plan at work, one your limited perspective can't grasp. It's as if you're looking at a single frayed thread, while God has already completed the entire tapestry. Imagine a young woman named Laura. Her dream was to be a missionary in Africa. She prepared for years, but just before leaving, a devastating medical diagnosis left her bedridden for months. Her world fell apart. She felt betrayed by God, but from her bedroom she began blogging about her struggle and her faith. Her words, forged in the fire of pain, reached thousands of people around the world, offering hope to those suffering in silence. Laura never went to Africa, but her bedroom became her mission field, with a reach she had never imagined. Her tragedy was the channel for God's purpose. For this plan to manifest, we must surrender, and that takes total trust, one that goes beyond logic. It's easy to trust when everything is going well, right? But true faith is forged in fire when nothing makes sense. To love God is to be willing to follow his script, even when you don't understand the plot, because who better than the author to know what you really need? Sometimes, in the midst of trial, you feel God's silence, but his silence is not absence. Just because you don't hear him doesn't mean he's not working. He's there, molding you, preparing you for something greater. Every tear, every seemingly unanswered prayer is forging something powerful within you. Trials are the tools God uses to draw you closer to him, to teach you to rely not on your strength, but on his. And here comes a key we often misunderstand. When the Bible says that all things work together for our good, it's not promising a life of material comfort. God's goodness is infinitely deeper. It has to do with your spiritual transformation, with being molded into the image of Christ. Have you considered that disappointment, that loss, that pain, are designed to make you more like Jesus? It's a hard truth to accept, I know, but every blow in life is sculpting your character, bringing you to the maturity God longs for you. And this isn't a generic promise. You have a unique calling, a specific purpose designed just for you. The ultimate well-being God promises you is intimately tied to that divine purpose. Patience is essential. You won't always see immediate results. Sometimes you'll feel like God is dragging his feet, but I assure you, he is working on every detail. The key is not to abandon faith. Keep walking, because he is building something beautiful from the rubble you see today. There are times when everything around you seems to be falling apart, and it's easy to feel like you've lost control. But I want you to remember something fundamental. God is on his throne. His kingdom rules over all. This isn't just a nice phrase. It's the truth that anchors our hope, as Psalm 103:19 declares. The Lord has established his throne in the heavens, and his kingdom rules over all. Think about this. The creator of the universe, the sovereign God, reigns from a heavenly throne, and absolutely nothing escapes his control. Not a single molecule in the cosmos moves outside his sovereignty. It's easy to forget this when chaos, uncertainty, and injustice seem to reign in our world. But even though things here on earth may seem turbulent, God is still on his throne. His reign is not like that of human leaders, temporary and fallible. God's reign is absolute and eternal. He is in complete control, from the fate of nations to the innermost whisper of your heart. No detail escapes him. His kingdom is unchanging. While human empires are born and die, and earthly power changes hands, God's kingdom remains forever. His throne cannot be overthrown. No force can challenge his authority. Sometimes it may seem like evil is winning the battle, but what we don't see is that God's kingdom remains steadfast, and his justice will prevail, though not always in our time or in our way. When everything seems out of control, find comfort in knowing that God has not lost control. He is not surprised by what happens in the world or in your life. He sees it all. Every situation is under his supervision, and nothing happens without his permission. This doesn't mean we won't face difficulties, but it does mean we can rest in his unwavering authority. No matter how big your problem, God is bigger. It's easy to lose this perspective when we focus only on what we see. We see governments, systems, earthly powers, and sometimes it seems like they have the final say. But the truth is, final control resides with the heavenly throne. God's kingdom is unaffected by political decisions or historical events. And while we can't always see how God is moving the pieces behind the scenes, we can trust that he is doing so to accomplish his perfect will. And here is a hope that should burn in your heart. God's justice is perfect. Although we live in a world tainted by injustice, God is a righteous judge. We may not see his justice manifest immediately, but we can be assured that it will prevail. No action or situation escapes his perfect judgment. For those of us who are citizens of his kingdom, this sovereignty is our ultimate security. Knowing that our King is sovereign, that he cares for us, and that his plan is perfect, gives us unshakable confidence. Your destiny is not in the hands of chance, but in the hands of an all-powerful and loving God. This means you can be at peace, knowing that God is in charge, watching over every detail of your life. So today, if you feel overwhelmed by what's happening, lift your gaze. Remember this: God is still on his throne, his kingdom rules over all, and you, as part of that kingdom, can rest in his perfect control. Have you ever felt crushed by the weight of your decisions? Those moments when you feel like everything depends on you, that one wrong choice could bring everything down. In Psalm 37:5, we find an invitation that can free you from that burden. Commit your way to the Lord, trust in him, and he will act. This is more than just advice. It's a call to stop carrying the world on your shoulders and allow God to take the reins. Committing your path to God goes far beyond a quick prayer. The word commit means to delegate, to surrender completely. It's an act of transferring your worries, your dreams, and your plans into his hands. It's recognizing that, even if your intentions are good, your understanding is limited, and you desperately need his divine guidance. It's admitting that you can't do it alone. But committing is only the first step. The second, and often the most difficult, is trusting. Trusting God doesn't mean you'll see immediate results or understand his every move. It's the deep certainty that he is at work, even when all is silent, even when things take a completely opposite turn from what you expected. And let's be honest, that's where trust is truly tested. But God asks you to keep trusting, because his ways are perfect. The promise is clear, he will act. But it's crucial to understand that God doesn't always act the way you expect. His actions are aligned with his will, which is good, pleasing, and perfect, even if it often doesn't match your immediate desires. Consider Michael, an architect who was praying for a major project that would catapult him to fame. He entrusted his path to God, but he lost the project to a competitor. He was devastated. Months later, the company that won the project went bankrupt amid a scandal, dragging down everyone involved. Michael realized that God's answer wasn't a no, but a protection. God acted, not to give him what he wanted, but what he needed, and this is where patience comes into play. Waiting on God's timing is one of the greatest challenges to our faith. We want instant solutions, but God calls us to an active waiting, trusting that his timing is perfect. While you wait, he is not idle. He is molding you, preparing you, and when the precise moment arrives, his intervention not only solves your problem, but aligns you more deeply with his purpose. This is a daily act of faith. Committing your path to God is not a one-time event. Every morning you face new decisions, new worries, and every morning you have the opportunity to surrender them to Him. And when you do, you experience something miraculous, the peace of God, that peace that frees you from stress, that lifts the weight of having to control everything and allows you to rest knowing that the one who loves you is in charge. You no longer have to carry the weight of those decisions alone. God is there, opening doors you never imagined, solving problems you didn't know how to face, and bringing calm in the midst of your storm. Today, if you feel overwhelmed, if you don't know which path to take, I invite you to do this. Commit your path to God. Trust in Him, because I promise you, even if you don't see the path clearly now, He's already at work. We've all felt that urge to control everything, right? It's as if letting go of the reins will unleash chaos. But Proverbs 3:5-6 offers us a radically opposite direction. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your paths straight. The challenge here is immense, to trust with all your heart without reservation. It sounds good in theory, but in practice, letting go of that desire for control, those anxieties that gnaw at us, is a daily battle. The key to trusting God is genuine surrender. Letting go of your worries, letting go of that impulse to have a backup plan in case God fails. Because let's face it, how many times have our best efforts at control ended in frustration? God calls us to unconditional faith. By giving Him your heart completely, you free yourself from a burden you were never designed to carry. Human wisdom, as valuable as it may be, has a limit. We like to think we have the answers, but our perspective is finite. We see only a fragment of reality, while God gazes into eternity. Why do we insist on relying on our limited understanding when we can rest in His infinite wisdom? He knows the past, the present, and the future. Trusting Him is not foolish, it is the greatest wisdom. This verse tells us that God longs to be a part of every area of your life, not just your crises. Acknowledge Him in all your ways. This means inviting Him into your daily decisions, from the smallest to the most momentous. It means giving Him center stage, not just as a lifeline, but as the Lord of your life. And when you do this, when you depend on Him in all things, God promises to make your paths straight. This promise doesn't mean a life without challenges. It means that even in the midst of difficulties, God will guide you. It will give you clarity, correct your course when you stray. Sometimes it will remove obstacles from your path. Other times it will give you the strength to climb over them. And sometimes it will change your path entirely, leading you to a better destination than you had planned. When you truly trust, an enormous weight is lifted from your shoulders. The pressure of having to figure it all out disappears. The peace that comes from knowing God is in control is unparalleled. In practice, this means that in times of uncertainty, instead of grasping for your own solutions, you seek His guidance. It's a fundamental shift in how you make decisions. It's recognizing His sovereignty in your work, your family, your finances, in everything. And in doing so, you begin to see how He straightens your paths, how He guides you on the right path. In the end, it all comes down to this truth. Divine wisdom will always surpass human prudence. Not because our reasoning is useless, but because God's perspective is infinite. When you align yourself with His wisdom, you can trust that your path, though sometimes mysterious, is the best possible. Recognizing God in all your ways not only transforms your decisions, it transforms your entire life. Being chosen by God is something that should take our breath away. It wasn't a random act, one choice among many. You were chosen by a deliberate, personal, and profound act of love. Ephesians 1:11 reveals that we were predestined according to the plan of Him who works all things according to the counsel of His will. Your existence is not a coincidence. You are part of a divine plan, designed with a specific purpose. This truth gives you an identity and a worth that nothing in the world can take away from you. The concept of predestination may raise questions, but in essence it is the sovereignty of God in action. He, in His infinite wisdom, has a master plan for history, and you have a unique role in it. But this doesn't negate your freedom. God doesn't force you to follow His plan. He invites you to walk with Him, to collaborate with His will. Your growth, your mission, everything is connected to this divine calling, and it's an immense comfort to know that He is in control of everything. Nothing happens outside of His plan. Every event, every circumstance is being orchestrated by Him. Even in the darkest moments, when you feel like everything is spiraling out of control, God is still sovereign. This certainty should flood your heart with peace, because no matter how chaotic your situation seems, God has already written the story. Every detail of your life has a purpose. There are no wasted moments. Every experience, good or bad, fits into a divine narrative. You no longer live at random. You walk in God's perfect plan. God's will is good, pleasing, and perfect. The difficult thing is trusting it when we don't understand it. But that trust gives us unshakable assurance. He doesn't make mistakes. His will is always what's best for you, even if you can't see it right away. Your identity is in Christ. You are not just anyone. You are a son, a daughter of the King, predestined to be part of his plan. This changes everything. Living with this awareness gives you direction and mission. You are not here just to pass the time. You have an eternal purpose to fulfill. And when you understand this, anxiety dissipates. You no longer feel the need to control everything. You rest in God's sovereignty, knowing that even if you don't have the answers, He does. Your very salvation is woven into this eternal plan. You were predestined to be saved, to be transformed into the image of Christ. His plan includes not only your salvation, but also your spiritual growth and maturity. He is at work in you, guiding you into eternity. Nothing and no one can snatch you from His hands. How do we live in light of this? We live with the awareness that we are chosen. We seek His purpose in every decision. We know we are not alone in our struggles, that He is working everything out for His glory. And when doubts assail you, when difficult times arrive, find comfort in this. God is in control. He has a plan, and you are a beautiful and essential part of that eternal design. Imagine going through a seemingly endless trial, the kind of trial that makes you question everything. In those moments, it's easy to feel abandoned, but Job 23:10 offers us a perspective that changes everything. He knows the way I take. If He tests me, I will come out as gold. Engrave these words on your heart. He knows the way. Your trial is not an accident. It's not something that slipped through God's fingers. He knows exactly what you're going through. And not only does He know, but He is present with you every second. Trials have a divine purpose to refine you. Think of a goldsmith. When he puts gold into the fire, it's not to destroy it, but to purify it, to burn away the impurities and make it shine brighter. The same is true for you. The difficulties you face are not meant to destroy you, but to refine you, to make you stronger, purer. Everything you go through is designed to forge your character, deepen your faith, and draw you closer to God. Sometimes, what we find hardest to accept is that these trials are a transformational process. It's not just about hanging on until the storm passes. Trials change you. They shape you. Every challenge, if you face it hand in hand with God, is preparing you for something greater. You may not see it now, but in the end, you will be stronger, more resilient, and the result of this process is priceless. You will emerge like purified gold. Just as gold increases in value when refined, you emerge from trials with incalculable spiritual value, better reflecting God's glory. With each difficulty you overcome, you become more like the person God designed you to be. I know patience runs out. You want the trial to be over now. But God is like that skilled goldsmith. He knows exactly how much heat you need, and for how long. He won't leave you in the fire a second longer than necessary to complete His work in you. If you're in a long season of trial, trust His process. It's easy to think God has abandoned us in suffering, but nothing could be further from the truth. Trials aren't a sign of abandonment, but an opportunity for Him to prepare you for something greater. The analogy of the goldsmith is powerful. God applies heat carefully to remove what doesn't serve you. He knows how much you can endure and is with you every moment, watching, caring, making sure the end result is perfect. So if you feel consumed by suffering today, you are not alone. God is with you, guiding every step. You are not adrift. Everything you experience has a divine purpose, and in the end you will emerge like gold, stronger, more valuable, a purer reflection of God's glory. That's hope in the midst of the fire. We've all felt that anxiety of wanting to speed up time, right? We want our dreams to be fulfilled now, our prayers answered instantly, and when that doesn't happen, we get frustrated. But Ecclesiastes 3:1 gives us a truth that brings peace. To everything there is a season, and a time for every activity under heaven. This verse is a reminder that, no matter how hard we try to force the pace, God has a perfect calendar. Life has seasons. We can't rush spring or stop winter. There are moments in life that we simply must live and accept. Every event, every situation has a purpose and occurs in its perfect timing. Yet we often struggle against these divine rhythms. We want to control, get ahead of it, avoid the uncomfortable. But it's in that struggle that we lose peace. Waiting on God's timing isn't passivity, it's an act of radical faith. Every season has its reason for being. There is a time to sow and a time to reap. There are times of rapid movement and others of necessary stillness, and God has absolute control over those times. His timing is perfect. Everything happens exactly when it's supposed to. There is infinite wisdom in this. Think about how many problems we would have avoided if we hadn't tried to force things. When we trust in God's timing, He provides what we need right when we need it. Not before, not after. Always on time. Reflect on the seasons of your life. Perhaps you are now in a season of waiting, of planting, or perhaps you are going through a winter of pain, but every season has a purpose. If today you are in a stage of struggle, remember that it is temporary. Just as spring follows winter, joy will return, and the same is true of moments of success. They are a gift, but they are also fleeting. The key is learning to live each stage without resisting it. Understanding that we are not in absolute control frees us from an immense burden. How much stress and anxiety fade when we accept that not everything depends on us. There is a greater plan at work, and it is in God's hands. He unfolds that plan in His way and in His time. And when we learn to trust that process, we find a peace that transcends circumstances. In your daily life, this translates into comfort. When it seems like nothing is going as planned, you can remember that God is orchestrating something perfect. And when things are going well, you can cherish those moments, knowing that they too are part of the divine cycle. The key is to accept that, even if your desires don't materialize immediately, God's plan is always fulfilled at the exact moment. Sometimes we think we have everything under control. We make plans, calculate risks, and expect life to follow our script. But then something unexpected happens, and everything falls apart. In those moments we ask ourselves, why God? Isaiah 55:8-9 gives us an answer that is both humbling and liberating. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my thoughts, declares the Lord. My ways and my thoughts are higher than your thoughts, higher than the heavens above the earth. In other words, God's perspective is infinitely superior to ours. Imagine you're looking at a single piece of a giant puzzle. You try to understand how it fits together, but you get frustrated. God, on the other hand, has the box with the complete picture. We, from our limited human vision, focus on the now, on our immediate emotions. God operates from eternity, seeing the bigger picture. And this is an invitation to let go of control, to accept that we won't always understand, but we can trust that He does. Sometimes God's ways seem contradictory. We want to go in one direction, and suddenly everything pushes us in the opposite direction. But what seems to you like an obstacle, a failure, may be precisely the divine maneuver you need to lead you to your true purpose. Every circumstance, even the most painful, is being used by God to shape you, to teach you something you wouldn't have learned otherwise. It's not about understanding the why in the moment, but about trusting that there is a greater purpose. Trusting God when nothing makes sense is one of the greatest tests of faith. It's easy to believe when everything is going well. But what happens when life is chaotic and you have no answers? That's when your confidence is purified. God is orchestrating something. You won't always see it immediately, but you can rest in the certainty that His wise hand is guiding your destiny. Isaiah's metaphor is powerful. The distance between heaven and earth is the same as the distance between our thoughts and His. This shouldn't frustrate us, but rather comfort us. God knows what we don't know. His plan is perfect. Recognizing this brings us to a place of humility. We stop fighting what we don't understand and surrender to His plan. And in that surrender we find a peace we couldn't manufacture on our own. In practice, this means learning to let go of anxiety. When things don't go as you expected, remember that God is working for your good, even if you don't see it. The path may not be the one you planned, but it will be the best path. God's purpose cannot be thwarted. His plan will be fulfilled in perfect timing, and in the end you will see that it was all worth it. So when you find yourself in the fog of uncertainty, remember, God's ways are higher than yours, and even if you don't understand him, you can trust that he is leading you exactly where you need to be. We try to decipher everything around us, looking for logical explanations that bring us calm, but when it comes to God's wisdom, we must accept a fundamental truth. It is incomprehensible to our finite minds. Romans 11:33 expresses it with awe. "O my God, how deep are the riches of the wisdom and knowledge of God! How beyond searching out his judgments and his ways! God's wisdom is beyond our understanding. There is a gulf between our limited capacity and his infinite wisdom. We see a moment in time, he sees all eternity. While we try to put life's puzzle together with a few pieces, he already has the complete picture. It's natural to get frustrated when we don't understand why certain things happen, but we must remember that he sees the whole picture, not just the individual parts. His knowledge encompasses everything, seen and unseen. When he acts, he does not act impulsively, but with perfect knowledge aligned with his eternal purpose. What is inexplicable to us holds profound meaning within his plan. Sometimes his judgments seem difficult, even unfair, but the reality is that his judgments are perfect, even when we don't understand them. It's like looking through a fogged-up glass. We don't see clearly, but he sees all perfectly. This is where we must trust. The word inscrutable means that his ways are impossible to trace. They are so deep and complex that we can't keep track of them. And that's a good thing. If we could understand everything God does, he wouldn't be God. His greatness surpasses our imagination. Accepting that we can't understand everything is a liberating act of humility. When we stop trying to decipher every detail and simply trust his wisdom, our relationship with him deepens. Sometimes the most spiritual thing we can do is say, "God, I don't understand this, but I trust you." Instead of living in frustration, we can live in awe and reverence before God's greatness. Every day is an opportunity to admire his wisdom, recognizing that he knows what we don't. This awe leads us to deeper worship. When you face a situation that seems impossible to understand, remember that God knows what he's doing. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to know that he is in control. And in that divine control, you can find incredible rest and peace. Have you ever felt so exhausted that you don't know how you're going to take another step? We've all been there, but Isaiah 40:28 offers us an anchor in the midst of that exhaustion. Do you not know? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, creator of the ends of the earth. He does not grow weary or weary, and his understanding is beyond searching. How powerful it is to know that our God never tires. While we reach the limits of our strength, he remains tireless with inexhaustible power and energy. Think about this. God is eternal. He has no beginning or end. We are trapped in time, but he is above it. His power never diminishes. He is the creator of everything, from the furthest galaxies to the smallest detail of your life. If he could create the universe with his word, don't you think he can handle your worries? Sometimes we feel overwhelmed by our circumstances, but when we remember that the creator of the cosmos is the one who sustains our life, our perspective changes radically. And here's the most amazing thing. He doesn't tire or become weary. In those moments when you feel like you can't take it anymore, he remains your inexhaustible source of strength. You can turn to him again and again, and he will never run out. His strength is not only physical, but also emotional and spiritual. In the midst of your weakness, he is your constant fortress. Furthermore, his wisdom is unfathomable. There are so many things we don't understand, so many unanswered questions, but he knows everything. Nothing escapes his understanding. He sees the whole picture when we only see fragments. This invites us to humility. We don't have to understand everything because he does. Trusting in that infinite wisdom allows us to rest in the midst of uncertainty. In those difficult times when nothing seems to make sense is when we must most remember who God is. He is the eternal God, the Creator. He is not limited by your difficulties. His ways, though sometimes incomprehensible, are perfect. And knowing this gives us deep comfort, because he does not leave us alone. In a constantly changing world, God's omnipresence and omnipotence bring us an indescribable peace. He is everywhere and sees everything. There is no place or situation that is beyond his reach. This means that no matter what you face, God is already there, working on your behalf. When you rest in that truth, you are freed from anxiety. So when you feel exhausted, when things don't make sense, remember, God is eternal, tireless, and his wisdom is unfathomable. He is in control, even when you don't understand it. And in that knowledge, you can find peace, knowing that he never tires of sustaining you. We tend to think of God as just or kind, but we often forget that he is both simultaneously in perfect harmony. Psalm 145:17 reveals this to us. The Lord is just in all his ways and kind in all his works. It's not that sometimes he is just and sometimes kind. He is both, always. And the incredible thing is that there is no conflict in his nature. His justice and his goodness operate in perfect unity. God's justice is the absolute standard of what is right. Everything he does is upright, pure, and perfect. Sometimes it's hard to see this in a world filled with injustice. But the truth is that, even when things seem unfair from our limited perspective, God is acting in justice. His justice guarantees that he will fulfill every one of his promises. But this is where his goodness comes in. It is not a human limited kindness. It is an infinite and perfect goodness. We see it in creation, in our daily blessings, in the air we breathe. Everything God does is imbued with care, love, and compassion. His grace is the most beautiful manifestation of that goodness. He gives us infinitely more than we deserve, and is always working for our good, even when we don't see it. It is this combination of justice and goodness that allows us to fully trust in him, especially when life doesn't make sense. In the midst of chaos or injustice, we can remember that God is still just and kind, and that he is at work in ways we cannot see. But what happens when we suffer, and it seems like God's justice is absent? Our perspective is limited. We see only part of the picture, but God sees everything. Even if we don't understand why things happen, we can trust that he is just. His justice is not indifferent to our suffering. Sometimes God allows trials to strengthen us, to purify us, but he always does so with a heart full of kindness. In the midst of trials, we can cling to his goodness. He has not abandoned us. He is present in every moment of pain, caring for us, guiding us. His goodness does not disappear in difficult times. On the contrary, it is when we need it most, and it becomes most evident. It's easy to see his goodness on sunny days, but it's in the storm that his compassion is most powerfully manifested. How do we live in light of this truth? First, by recognizing that God is always faithful. His character is unchanging. We can always trust him to act with justice and kindness. And if you ever doubt, if you wonder how his justice and a world filled with pain can coexist, remember that he sees beyond what you can see. His plan is greater. His justice and goodness never fail. And when we understand that, our faith is strengthened, and we find peace in the midst of the storm. As we reach the end of this journey, one truth resonates with unwavering force. God has a sovereign and perfect plan for you. No matter how many of your own plans have fallen apart, how many obstacles you face, or how many times you feel lost, his purpose will always prevail. Every experience, both sweet and bitter, holds deep meaning within his masterful design. This is not an invitation to passivity, but to an active and courageous trust, a trust that allows you to live without the burden of having to figure everything out, knowing that he who loves you unconditionally is in control. Lord, today I come before you with an open heart. Thank you for reminding me that nothing in my life is an accident, that even in the midst of pain, you are working with purpose. Even though my plans have failed, today I choose to trust in yours, which are perfect, good, and full of hope. I surrender my fears, my doubts, and my need to be in control. I surrender my path, my decisions, and my future to you. Help me remember that even if I don't understand what you're doing, I can rest in the knowledge that you know where you're leading me. Strengthen my faith when it falters. Give me peace in the midst of the storm. Teach me to wait in your timing, to trust in your processes, and to believe that you are with me every step of the way. Thank you for loving me, for choosing me, and for having an eternal plan for me. May your will be done in my life, not mine. In Jesus' name, amen. I invite you, as you face life's challenges, to commit each of your paths to the Lord. Trust that He will act according to His perfect will. His plan for you is woven with threads of hope, and even though sometimes the darkness may blind you to the next step, you can rest in the certainty that He is at work in every moment. God's love and goodness are manifest even in the toughest trials, reminding you that you are never alone. Meditate on what you have heard today. God has chosen you. He has predestined you for an eternal purpose that is greater than you can imagine. Live with the boldness that comes from knowing your life is in His hands. Now I want to invite you to be a bearer of this hope. Share this message with someone who needs to hear it, with that person who is struggling to find meaning in their situation. And if you haven't already, subscribe and join this community of believers who move forward together, delving deeper into the truths that set us free. May the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, guard your heart and mind in Christ Jesus. And always remember, His purpose will prevail. If you have come this far, it is not by chance. It is because your spirit yearns for a deeper connection with the Creator. Your perseverance demonstrates a heart that seeks, that does not settle. Keep on that path, keep seeking His face, because every step you take toward Him, He takes 1,000 toward you. Comment, I trust in your plan to declare with us that no matter what you see, your faith is anchored in His sovereignty. May God bless you abundantly. May the peace of Christ dwell in your heart, and may you find joy in every day. Amen.